Hello, sir. It was a very informative, very well illustrated presentation, and thank you for that. Sir, we would like to know a little bit about you. Could you say a few words describing your journey so far as a plant scientist?
That journey has already been described by you for my introduction in the beginning, very beginning. Same journey I took, but I'll tell this journey in a different way than what you people described. You know, I never I never wanted to take up research career, to be very honest. You know, I wanted to get into civil services, which many youngsters here, they aspire to become civil servants because these are the positions which have a lot of people think they have a lot of power, and there is glamour in them. That's what people think. It's but there are certain disasters also. There's pressure. Our own Professor Swaminathan, he got an opportunity to join civil services, but he denied that and he sticked to research. And he has accomplished much more than what he could have accomplished by being a civil servant. I never wanted to do research, but somehow I wanted to be in Delhi. I thought Delhi is a good platform to prepare for civil service. I joined Delhi University for my PhD because I got CSIR fellowship. Otherwise, I might not have joined. But in Delhi University, particularly South Campus, there was very good research atmosphere. I really got so deeply interested in research and all biological studies, molecular biology and everything. It was so fascinating, and I forgot my civil services. And I pursued PhD and molecular biology as a research career. So, and there was no look back after that.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have changed to several institutes. I worked in several organizations. So, and finally, I'm here in Bangalore in an ICAR institute called as Indian Institute of Horticultural Research. So, I have seen, research institutes overseas, DBT. I have worked for DBT institutes, ICAR institutes. I don't know what is there in the future for me. So, yeah, that's to be very brief.
Yes, sir. Sir, my next question is that according to you, which modern tools and techniques will help us to better store and process food in horticulture?
See, I'm not a post-harvest technologist, but I think more than tools, what are the areas which needs to be emphasized is one is nutraceuticals. This is something very important which people will have to emphasize. And when you use even biotechnological strategies to have better nutrient composition in crop plants, there is no question of resistant breakdown or something like that, which is a concern in against biotic stress. So in nutraceuticals like golden rice and all, one can try, but it is important to get rid of these marker genes so that people accept them in a better way. And there are a lot of experiments, anthocyanins and other anti-cancerous things have been expressed in transgenics, and people have found that they were able to overcome cancers. These antioxidants are very important for good health. So there's a good potential here. So any tools, maybe RNA interference or genome editing tools, you can improve these traits, then I think there is no limit to employ any good strategy. Yeah,
Right.
and you have to see that what consumer prefers, that is there in the trait. So.
Okay. Sir, how do we minimize the use of chemicals in horticulture that are harmful to us in the long run?
See, minimize chemicals, we somehow, because of this huge population, and we are expecting 9 billion very soon. So to cater to the food requirements and for very intensive agriculture is something which is very important. If we start growing things organically, everything, we may not expect desired yields, and it may be really difficult to feed all the bellies of all the 9 billion people. So uh, it may not be an gradually we may have to move to safer technologies than using pesticides, which have been a major problem in development of cancers or whatever among the population. So, like dsRNA technology, which I briefly discussed, we have used it against papaya ring spot virus, but this technology is still in the lab. To commercialize it, one has to look into. We have to fine tune it so that we produce large scale at an economical cost, so that people are able to use it at an affordable price. And this double-stranded RNA-based technology is not only against viruses, can be for other fungal disease, or can be used for against insects, pests also. People have tried that. So people will have to, companies or research institutes will have to come up with such strategies, and will have to work out to make it more economically feasible, so that it can be evolved into a commercial product.
Right. Sir, as we are nearing the end of today's webinar, would you say something, your words of advice to the young research fellows out there?
Yeah, young research fellows. How many are young here in this group? First, I don't know from what all different organizations are the audiences here.
So there are many research fellows, PhD students,
See,
and
I'll tell about my PhD days. These days I see people, join the labs. Immediately after joining, they want to publish papers. They really don't want to enjoy their research. They want shortcuts. They want to publish papers immediately. I think the ultimate goal should not be publishing. You do research. You try to understand. Read about how Darwin has done his studies. He proposed the theory of evolution. He did not roam around the world to publish a theory of evolution. He roamed around the world, across the waters, across sea, across different continents, to know how these animals, birds have evolved. So I think people should get motivation. How Darwin, how Mendel did his studies. The fundamentals of genetics and plant breeding are all based on Mendel's studies. As a priest in a church, he was a priest in a church. So as a passion, he carried out some of the experiments in the backyard of the church, and he was able to decipher the genetics of, he proposed three principles, theories of inheritance, and all that. So, and they were really forgotten. Later on, the Mendel's laws were rediscovered, and the entire science of genetics and plant breeding stands on these principles. So I think the young researchers look into this. They have to do research. Passion is one thing, but money is also important. So we have to see that what you do has an application. I think when I joined for my PhD, I never thought of any publication or whatever. We worked, we wanted to investigate, we wanted to know more about diversity of viruses, how this is, how that is, and all that. I think that should be, you don't work just to publish papers. You have to work to address the basic question, understand there is some phenomenon, molecular basis of that is not known. For example, there are certain plants which show different patterns of leaf color, may not be green or mosaic or all that. Nobody knows why there is difference. Is it because of gene silencing or what it is? So try to pick up such great ideas, work on that, understand them. That's what is, people are rushing for genome sequencing, come up with huge amount of data, get some grasp from the companies, just put it to as over expression, under expression without any sense, real sense coming out of it. That's not the real science. Okay, you do that, but take it to the functional aspects. Pull out one gene which is really important, show the functional ability at that's what is important. Just for the sake of publishing, please don't do your research. And people have to really work hard. I know research is a difficult career. In ITs, if somebody works for more amount of time, they get paid for the extra hours, but that's not true for research. Government has still increased the fellowship for the research scholars of late. I think it is much better than what we had compared to what is the cost of living now and at that time. So I think research is a passion. Okay, one should take it as a passion, and they should not take it as a job. That's what is request for the young generation. So don't compare yourself with IT people who mint money like anything, because what they do is not published, and the recognition is to the companies. The world will not know who has developed those programs. Okay, so as a researcher, if you do really groundbreaking discoveries, it's published in your name. So that's the kind of recognition you may have across the globe. When RNAi was discovered by Craig and Memelo, so nobody thought that it would really revolutionize the world, and it is called as the technology of the century. So don't anticipate results before you start your work. Start your work with a good planning. Move ahead slowly. Come up with an open mind. So yeah, one has to you plan your results now only and work only in that direction. That's not good. You would not really be doing a great science. Maybe you may end up with publications, and some publications will come one or the other day, but you really have to do good science. You have to really work hard. Working hard should not be taken as a burden. You should really enjoy your work. When we worked, we did not take it as a stress. We took it as a passion, and we enjoyed working. So that should be that is what is required and more important in the present generation, because I get several scholars in my lab. Once office time is over, they are too keen to. when I was in US during postdoc, we worked late. There are labor laws and all, of course. Then don't take me to the court with labor laws. But research is entirely different career. You are not paid in monetary terms for the extra effort you make, but you are paid for you are recognized for your work in terms of publications, patents, or products, or you share your knowledge in such forums like yours. So that is what is important. So I think the young generation, at least, I don't say that everybody should get into research. There are so many professions. One should take up what you think you are interested in. So if you are really interested in research, then you have to take it as a passion. Okay, so that's the only advice. I really don't want to be too harsh. Then they'll start cursing after all the talk.
No, I don't think that. No, sir. Those great words of advice, sir. Thank you, sir. Let's go back to Shubho now.